Well, hello, my guys, my gals, and my non binary pals. Today, we are digging deep into emotions. A lot of the information that I will be sharing with you today comes from Harvard professor Dr. Susan David, who's an emotional wellness expert. We're going to focus on the three of the main ideas from Dr. David's book, which are: one, there are no good or bad emotions; two, it's best to actually feel your feelings; and number three, feelings are information. That if we pay attention to our emotions, then we have information that we can make good decisions, we can live our best lives. I'm going to take us back for a moment to the hand model of the brain. Remember, we had the reptile part of our brain and the mammal part of our brain, and then the rest of our brain with the prefrontal cortex. I want to remind you, reptile part of our brain is just reactive. That means that they see something in their environment or they feel something in their internal sense and they just react. We, on the other hand, have this extra part, which is complex emotions. And that really sets us apart from the reptiles. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Feeling our feelings, and then we can use our feelings to make good decisions. So you can see from the words behind me, there are a lot of emotions. And even though I said there's no good emotions or bad emotions, there are definitely emotions that feel better to feel. And some feel really hard and difficult and bad to feel, but they're not bad emotions. For example, if someone brings you a cookie and you didn't expect it, you're going to be surprised and delighted. If someone ghosts you, you might be frustrated, disgusted, disappointed. The other three emotions, the ghosted feeling emotions, they don't feel good. But there's nothing wrong with those emotions. They're natural to have emotions like that. Dr. David tells us there are no good or bad emotions, but we get a lot of mixed messages from our families, our culture, from social media. Let me share with you some of the things that I was told when I asked the question, what does your family, your culture, your social media tell you about how we express and experience emotions? This is what I heard from some people. In my family, we don't express emotions. Social media both normalizes emotions and there's lots of comments that judge people for having strong emotions. In my family, all emotions are valid and we're allowed to share them. I'm Hispanic, so culture is family. Also, men are taught to adapt, but also to just suck it up if they are feeling strong emotions. Positive vibes only, and we're to ignore or stuff down the negative. In my family, we don't talk about emotions. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. It's okay to be sad in my family, but not mad. So that's a lot of conflicting information about emotions. So let me cycle back to Dr. David and what she tells us, but first I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about her story. So Dr. David was 15 years old when her dad was dying, and she was told by her mom to go kiss Papa goodbye and go off to school, and sure enough, her dad died that day. And just a couple days later, she was back into school and she was doing her schoolwork and she didn't drop a grade, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, what a strong, resilient girl. All sorts of praise for being strong and resilient. And inside, however, she's worried. She's full of grief. She's super anxious about her mom, who's now raising 3 kids on her own with not a lot of job opportunities. And she really was very, very, very distraught inside, but she looked good on the outside. I'm fine. I'm fine. And she developed an eating disorder. And it wasn't until her English teacher, shout out to all the English teachers out there and the librarians who found people the right book, in this case, a journal, to write her feelings down, that she began to really process what was going on and realize that she was very, very unwell. So she learned through all the research that feeling our feelings is actually the very best thing we can do, even if they are unpleasant. If you're anything like me, she bottled it all. I would just kind of push it down. Like, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm going to push it down, and then something else is going to come up, and I'll push it down, and then I'm going to push it down, and then all of a sudden this last person says something, and then I'm yelling at them, or I'm yelling at my dog, or that's the way it goes. So feeling our feelings is a really important piece, and pushing them down does not help. It actually creates situations where we get eating disorders or depression or any variety of other mental illnesses. So, experts say, feel your feelings. Does that mean you have to share your feelings with everyone? It does not. You can be in your room by yourself, listening to your sad music and crying. You could be writing in a journal. You can take in a walk. You do not need to share your feelings, but if you want to, you can share them with a friend, your dog, your therapist, your mom. But the more we feel our feelings, the more we have information about what's important to us. Let's go back for a moment to the person who brought you a cookie. And you feel that delight and that surprise, and you're like, ooh, that's information about how much I like that person, and also cookies. Over here, when the person ghosted you, first you were frustrated, and then you're furious, and then you're like, wait a second, I'm furious. This is a red flag. This person has done this to me before. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. And if you hadn't let yourself feel your feelings like that, you might have let that person continue to mistreat you. And so feelings, even unpleasant ones, are important ones for us. So let's look back at what we've learned today. Number one, Dr. George and the experts say there aren't any good or bad emotions, even if they're unpleasant. They're important information. Number two, it's important that we feel our feelings. Feel the feels, people. And the third is, again, it's information. It's information for us to live our best lives. We've learned a little about emotions. Next week, we'll learn a little bit more about what happens when we judge ourselves for having emotions, and also the fact that we are big enough to handle all of our emotions and our big thoughts and our big dreams. And with that,
be excellent to each other.
And stay classy.
And stay connected to yourself.